v.h.s.x? What do you mean?
Alright everybody, welcome back to a brand new video. Today I wanted to get into a video from Puffalope titled "What's the best build for every killer?" And I wanted to kind of debunk the misinformation a bit here with the Ghostface best build. There's a couple of errors that were made. There was a couple of misconceptions that were kind of being discussed. So first, I'll let you guys kind of listen to what is being said, and then I'll jump in and kind of tell you why it's not really accurate.
Did not have the best add-ons to use here, but Philly is pretty much mandatory on Ghostface. Just a flat 10% increase is really good. But then Walleye's matchbook you can replace with drop leg knife sheath if you have the add-on unlocked. I think it's actually better, but this does just fine. And then we're gonna bring Puff because this perk guarantees that you're gonna get the down when you expose someone, along with coup de grace for the same thing, just guaranteeing that you're gonna get the down. Sloppy Butcher to make it so when people are body blocking to prevent you from downing the person that was exposed, your tag matters because they're not going to be able to heal as fast. This is a great perk on Ghostface. It doesn't sound like it, but it is. Trust me. And Deadlock is the most passive slowdown that doesn't require any hooks because lower.
Alright, so I wanted to include just a clip for context, and I wanted to kind of break down and debunk exactly why Puffalope is completely off the mark when talking, well, I guess pun intended, off the mark when talking about the best build for Ghostface. Now, what you see in the background here is what I would consider to be the best build for Ghostface, in my opinion, which you're probably going to notice that it does not include Sloppy Butcher and it does not have Philly. Which I have to mention that the first thing that I want to discuss is being that Philly it's necessary, mind you. This is what is stated by Puffalope. It is necessary to have Philly. It's so important to have it. Now, it has been debunked, okay, by another Ghostface main that I would say definitely was a lot smarter than me back in the day when I was playing this character. And they actually did debunk and conduct a test. And I actually had completely sort of changed my tune when it came down to Philly, and I hope to do the same for you guys. Because Philly is objectively non-existent. It's only a decimal of a difference, and it's purely just for a feels good to use sort of category, and not an add-on that you objectively want to continue to use in this day and age. And especially when the quote-unquote buff that this character had received, which mind you was not really a buff but more of a side grade, it really was not that strong or really affected Ghostface that much. I wanted to provide a little bit of evidence, so I'm going to link this video from AFRO in the description, which I do know that he didn't really enjoy the way I played the character some time ago, but times change, man. It's been about a year, I think, since this video was posted, but the data still remains the same because, as I've stated. So as you can see here, this is going to be the basic stock without Philly, which takes about 5 seconds, right? So this is basic stock with Philly, 4 seconds. No Philly, leaning, 2.5 seconds. Philly, 2.23 seconds. So there you go. I also wanted to quickly include a more updated version of the data because I know that I might have missed that as well, so I'm going to include both. This is the second clip that I'm going to include from AFRO, which will also be linked in the description, to show the data difference between, obviously the PTB is referring to current state Ghostface right now. This was 10 months ago, talking about the data and the difference. So let's go ahead and listen.
5 seconds, as the dev stated. Leaning is 2.183 seconds. Leaning for PTB Philly is about 2.050 seconds. Let that sink in. You have a difference on the lean with the add-on about 0.133 seconds. It
goes without saying that Philly is only applicable if you're not leaning. But if you are leaning and you're using Philly, you're getting the same exact speed essentially, and you're wasting a perk. I wouldn't say a perk slot because that's the other category, but you are wasting an add-on slot with trying to use Philly instead of anything else. Now, the vast majority of Ghostface add-ons are not that great anyway, so it's really easy to kind of point out which ones are pretty terrible. But I do want to mention that Philly in particular is really not that amazing in comparison to other add-ons that provide a bit of cooldown. Now, Matchbook I can agree with, that can be a pretty good add-on. Pretty much combining with the base kit to give you 6 seconds of cooldown reduction compared to the original base kit. And then, of course, on top of that, you also need to take into account that if you just used the Olsen's wallet, you'll 100% of the time get way more value from it because it can completely reduce your cooldown by triple that of the Matchbook. Especially with the palette update that we received recently with 1,000 more fillers in every single map, breaking the palette can guarantee that you recharge your power instantly without having to wait a full like 17 seconds. That's incredibly powerful. And the amount of fillers that are there just offer more opportunities to gain more of your cooldown back. And then also get rid of resources that are going to get in your way. That to me is one of the key components of playing this character. Is cooldown management, of course. That is definitely one of the most important things. But even beyond that, it would have to be understanding what add-ons are going to give you the most value, because this character, like I've said, like, and it's been very much stated many a times, not the strongest character in the roster, like by any means. So having the option to recharge your power instantly, or even other add-ons that were mentioned in the video of the clip, the driver's license add-on I would say is quite good as well, but I would not recommend it unless you have the right build for it. And so when I talk about driver's license, because I've used it plenty of times before, and I have to say that it really is extremely dependent on your map, and it is really extremely dependent on your build. If you have perks that can offer that sort of information, whether it be surveillance, whether it be discordance, you know, things like that, that you can build around using driver's license, you can get a lot more value from it. That'll be a lot more effective than just having it on just because a lot of the time you probably won't get any value. And that's because when you're going against people that are experienced, and I have to really preface that because I do play this character quite a bit, and I go for wins. I don't really you know, stay within like the lower to average MMRs by any means. I'm always constantly trying to win, and I go against, like, I would say the toughest opponents. And as you guys know, I've been tracking my wins lately, so my win rate is at about 84%. I'm really trying to raise it up. And you guys know, like, full well, I've been trying out and testing different perks and builds to really see what works on this character, to really get a more intimate knowledge. And that's why I'm speaking from that perspective to say that the add-ons I run are pretty much going to be the best. You're going to want to have driver's license, or you're going to want to have the Olsen's wallet. And drop leg never leaves my build. I would say that it never does. That extra 10% can save you like multiple times. It will save you meters of distance that you most likely would not have. So the other aspect I want to talk about is the perk selection. Now, play with your food, to me, I would say is like going to be one of the best perks, in my opinion, for the character. Very important to have that perk on, especially if you are using play with your food as well. I would highly recommend having that together. Play with your food and the drop leg knife sheath is going to be like the bread and butter combo that really can bring this character up in terms of some lethality. Very important perk to have on. A perk that I have in recent memory I haven't really used that much. I was actually using Spirit Fury Enduring as my main like duo combo perk selection since I started playing. So that was like my main thing that I would use. And recently I decided, let me give play with your food a chance, and I have noticed that it gives me way more chances of winning, way more chances of actually getting downs and being way more lethal in chase, which helps out a lot, especially because Ghostface does struggle with the chase aspects in the game. So that I completely agree with. Deadlock is also an important perk, I would say, as well. With a character like this, you want to have passive slowdown so you can focus on downs and not have to worry about your perks not gaining any selection or having any value, in other words. For some reason, like, Slobby Butcher has always been something that people recommend for the character, and it's like, I don't know, understand why, because it's just completely ineffective, and it completely just makes, like, to me it doesn't make any sense. If you're using your power, you're not going to need it. Like, you're going to have a slot that could have been put to something more useful, like corrupt intervention to help you get those early marks. You know, you could have play with your food in there, which obviously it's in the build, you know, within that was in the example, but still. Like, but I've even been experimenting with batteries included. I've been experimenting, you know, with other perks that give like haste and stuff like that. And an even bigger example I would say is even I want to talk about also like Sloppy. I wouldn't say is that great on Ghostface. Nurse's Calling is not that great on Ghostface. Save the Best for Last, I would say, is one of the worst choices to put on Ghostface. And Rapid Brutality on top of that, I would say, is one of the worst choices to put on this character. And from my standpoint, from how I look at the character and from all my time playing this character, if you are spending so much time not stalking, not getting one-shot downs, not keeping them injured or doing anything like that, you're wasting a lot of time, and you're really wasting a lot of potential for this character to shine. Because I actually recently have been trying to even, you know, use this like build around with like help wanted and machine learning, because I thought it'd be fun to try it out, you know, see if I can get some wins with it or see how effective it could be on the character. Using Save the Best for Last, I was not able to get more than a few stacks, because if I'm going around and I'm taking one hit to down somebody most of the time, I'm pretty much not going to need it. It's pretty much non-existent. I'm pretty much not going to get any value. And I'm going to end up finding the obsession anyway. Like, it's most likely going to happen. I'm going to end up finding the obsession, and I'm going to end up having to gain a couple stacks and leave them alone. But it's how the game is. Right? And these are perks that I think that are like commonly used on the character that just really just don't work in terms of efficiency. Like, they're probably fun for people who play more inefficiently with the character. I mean, of course, but I can't say that you're giving the character justice or doing like, you know, yourself justice even in that extent with this character, because there's just better perks that just work better for the character. Like, you're going to get a lot more value. And I think it's just reframing how the character is sort of viewed. I think I understand that it's like it is an M1 killer, but this is an M1 killer that does not require you to take more than one hit. And I think that's an important aspect that I think a lot of people are ignoring when trying to play this character. And I think that Save the Best for Last is extremely effective on a character like Pig, and a character like Skull Merchant, or a character like even like Trapper, even, because I think Trapper can actually maintain his stacks, because the trap doesn't count as actually, like, I don't believe it does. I don't know if they patched it already, but I know that like back a couple patches ago, you were able to just like, if you clamp the obsession, it wouldn't count against you if you didn't M1 them. So you could just pull them out of the trap like by hand with the button, and you won't lose any stacks because you'll still maintain 8 stacks, and you can just swing really fast for a while. And I think that is like really cool. And that, I think, is an important aspect. So I really want to try to drive it home, essentially. Like, the some of the perk selections were pretty good. Obviously Deadlock is really good. I would highly recommend on this character to have Corrupt Intervention, because I would consider this character one of the few that are like still setup killers. So like Nemesis has been a setup killer. Michael Myers used to be a setup killer. Not so much anymore now with his rework, but I would consider Ghostface to still be within the setup killer situation. So I would obviously always recommend having Corrupt on there as well. But if you do end up using Coop, obviously I would still run Corrupt, Deadlock, Coop, and play with your food. That would be sort of what I would recommend, because you want to at least have an early and mid-game slowdown so that you have a chance to set up. Because if you can get your characters, especially your setup characters, to have the opportunity to set up, especially with Ghostface, you want to have the survivors 99 as much as you can. And it's important. It's extremely important with this character to do that. it's extremely important with this character that you need to have them 99 because this character really does struggle a lot in chase. And having at least an option for that is going to be an important aspect. And it's even stronger because of the fact that this character is a one-shot. But enough yapping, right? I want to really get into why Sloppy Butcher is completely ineffective. I would say it's extremely inaccurate to say that Ghostface thrives with a perk like Sloppy Butcher. In my opinion, I think is one of, like, I would say one of the weakest choices, alongside even furthermore Nurse's Calling, which I would say is another extremely just like weak perk to put out on this character. I would say that's completely pointless to put those perks on this character. And there's a couple of factors for that. One being, obviously, there are two important things that I think people are kind of like have a misconception about this character. One being that this character is a hit and run styled character. Now, if you want to engage in the hit and run playstyle, which is to M1 and run away and go for somebody else and then come back later, the only character that I would say really thrives with that situation is probably going to be Wraith. And the reason for that is because Wraith does have the stealth capabilities that really make him thrive in that sort of category. He has the capability to have a longer lunge on average because of the fact that you can swing directly out of cloak, and then while you're moving within that sort of extra haste, you can land an additional like lunge distance because of your movement speed. And that aspect is incredibly key when playing Wraith, especially when catching up after uncloaking. But also on top of that, Sloppy Butcher is going to work extremely effective on the character because you can hit, cloak, start to walk away, come back as they're trying to heal themselves, and then Sloppy will then activate. But Ghostface is not a character that can really do that. First off, is it's really important is that the cloaking abilities that he has is easy countered by just having eyesight. Just by them looking at you, you're gonna immediately lose your power pretty much, right? It's all gone. But with Wraith, he doesn't have to suffer through that. He just bangs his bell, he goes invisible, he does his thing, and it's completely capable of actually getting value from it. Now with Ghostface in particular, the bigger aspect that you want to focus on, and I think that's what a lot of Ghostfaces who start out really mess up on, is the fact that they're not trying to prioritize going for their one hits. They're not trying to prioritize going for stock. And I see that a lot, and I see that with even big prevalent creators that play Ghostface. So I see that a lot. It's very prevalent with a lot of like bigger Ghostface creators that they aren't really using their ability. They're not really trying to get exposed. They're really not trying to stalk. They're not really trying to lean into what makes the character strong. And that, I would say, is one of the biggest issues, especially when trying to teach people how to play the character. Definitely trying to teach people like more so how to play more like efficiently, because I know a lot of people are going to struggle with this character. He's really not that strong. Like, he doesn't have a lot of the bells and whistles that a good majority of the killers have. And I know that is going to be an important factor, especially when playing this character, is like they want to feel like they're, picking the characters worth their time. And unfortunately, that's just a big thing that I see when it comes down to this character. And that is an important aspect that I want to cover in the video, because I think that massive misconception leads to why Sloppy Butcher is somehow good on the character when it's not. Why it leads to, oh, this character is like it, and the just trust me, bro. I think of the Puffalope commentary of it. I think made me laugh pretty hard, because I was like, yeah, like you got to be trolling for this, because it's like, just trust me, bro. Like, this works. It's like, no, it doesn't. Like, it doesn't work. Like, it works better on a character that doesn't have the weaknesses that Ghostface has. And the other aspect I want to point out is also, even nurses is the same thing. Like, you're not going to be able to intercept their heal. You're not going to be able to really stop them from finishing it. And in general, I would say it's actually better that you don't have Sloppy Butcher, because by marking them, you're completely going to ignore a lot of the aspects that the character has, to go against, right? So if people are injured and they get off hook, they could have dead hard ready to go, right? Like they could have it just ready to go. And if you're marking somebody who's already fully healed, they can't just dead hard out of nowhere, right? You can ignore some of those perks, because if they're fully healed, I can't say all of them, but you can ignore some of those perks, because if they're fully healed, then it won't really make that much of a difference if you're just going to be able to down them anyway, because they think that you won't be able to do anything in that situation. There's going to still be a difference there, because as a one trick, you're not going to have as much information in comparison to somebody who is a jack of all trades. Now, I'm not stating that myself that I'm a one trick Ghostface main. Like I have other characters, P100. I played Chucky, Pyramid Head, Freddy, even pre rework Freddy and stuff like that. So I have experience with those characters, of course. But Ghostface is still like my most played out of those characters, and that is why I wanted to kind of get in here and sort of talk about and sort of debunk the misconceptions with the character, and hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully it works. So yeah, that was pretty much my little yap sesh for you guys, kind of debunking Puffalope's sort of best build, because in my opinion, I don't really think it's the best build. At least from my perspective, I think that the build I use would be considered like the best build for me. Obviously, I know that playstyles kind of differ a little bit, but objectively speaking, and even looking at people that like Shrouded Ghostface, but shout out to him, I would consider one of the best Ghostfaces, in my opinion, who has even competed in the comp level. I would trust their opinion a lot more when playing a character like this, because of the amount of time it would take to get 37,000 downs. And I'm getting up there too. I'm also trying to climb up there to at least be able to reach like top 15 myself, and trying to have like a really high win rate and stuff like that. And I can say that out of using different perk combinations and understanding the character intimately, I understand that there are just going to be some perks that just don't work on the character. And you know, I am speaking from the perspective of somebody who goes against like very tough teams. I'm always like winning and like going for wins and stuff like that. So I'm going to be, you know, pretty high in the MMR level. You know, speaking from that perspective and going, and, you know, obviously that to me is going to be an important part. And that, and efficiency is key when with talking about this. So hopefully that makes sense. But with that being said, I want to thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, comment, subscribe. Check out the original video linked in the description to look at other best builds and see if you agree or disagree with those. But I gotta say, like, I completely disagreed with the Ghostface build to an extent. Go ahead and take some time out to thank all my members from Patreon with Crow King 101, my YouTube members, Majora Jeff, Endire, Evil Peachy YT, Zero Mocker, Christian, Hexdev, and Crow Vader, and for my Twitch subscribers, Cake is the Road, Danica 2002, Final Girl _ Bunny, Acklefin, Chili Cinderace, Zero Mocker, Ginsburg, Johns 117 _ Lovely Ghost TTV, Jar TTV, Zazabu, and Crow Vader. Just wanted to thank you guys. And if you also want to have your name read off at the end of every video, make sure you join on one of these platforms to get one of those perks, as well as the other perks you get. So appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much.